Hi everyone, I'm Alice.
And I'm Ola.
And this is Waterfront
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays, brought to you by
Boston Harbor Now.
Ola, welcome to Waterfront Wednesdays.
I'm so glad to be here.
I am so excited that you're here today and that you are going to be working with Boston Harbor Now all summer on some cool programming.
Absolutely. This summer, I was the co-organizer of the Arts and Edge cruise, and I'm working with the Harbor Artists in Residence.
And we are talking to you today about harbor art, about stuff you can find around the harbor and how art continues to inspire artists.
And how artists can use a variety of mediums to give people fresh perspectives and the harbor on the water generally, and about islands and about climate change.
And we'll suggest some places you can go check it out on the Harbor Walk and on the islands. But let's first talk about the Arts on the Edge cruise.
All right, sure. Well, early July, we had a nearly dozen of performing artists, including Destiny Polk, Billy Dean, and Veronica Robles. They joined us for a 90-minute cruise trip around the harbor.
And of the about dozen or so cruises that Boston Harbor Now produces for different community groups, this is one of my favorites. There's such a broad cross-section of people.
Oh yeah, it was great to see some Boston creators mixed in with regular folks who just wanted to enjoy a cruise on a beautiful day.
But it wasn't just an average boat ride. Even on land, it's rare to get a diversity of performers like this. But organizing things like this is part of what you do.
It's true. I have helped to organize lots of music, poetry, and visual art projects around Boston, particularly ones linked to community organizing and social justice. I've worked with Carolyn Lemonberg before on projects like the Art Grove, which is part of the Franklin Park Coalition.
And so you like connecting people to parks, bringing artists into public spaces and green spaces. What was different bringing people out onto a boat?
It's a space that not everyone has access to, and opening up spaces like that, making something that's basically welcoming and more accessible.
That's awesome. And you're doing that as well on the islands. You're taking on a new curatorial challenge.
Oh yeah, that's right. We'll have 3 artists working on the islands this summer. Brian Sonia Wallace is doing the Typewriter Island. He's mostly going to be on spectacled Georges and ferries, transforming stories to tell into his poems.
And that's something that artists have done on the island before. Ryan Edwards spent 2 summers ago, spent time on Spectacle Island, and he went out and he recorded just different sound bits, and he took all these audio recordings and he composed a work of music from those little snippets.
Yeah, and I think that we'll see more of that with Robin McDonald Foley on her quilting project on the islands. She really is taking stitches of squares and taking people to embellish on paddocks and spectacle.
And it's interesting, some of the artists sort of want every person to interact with them and they'll capture whatever comes out, but other people are trying to tell a really specific narrative. So last summer, the musician Carol Washington composed a work called In the Harbor Freedom Sings, and it was really about telling a metaphorical story of the African American and indigenous experience out on the harbor islands and in the harbor.
Yeah, similarly, Marsha Priasia, a multidisciplinary dance theater artist, she'll be working with members of the Nipmuc, Massachusetts, and Mashpee Wampanoag communities to tell us the historic and contemporary history of Native Americans on the island.
I can't wait to hear and see what each of them produces.
I'm looking forward too. I mean, Georges Island, that is the place.
And you were there as a kid.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I remember going there, getting on the ferry with the big water, and I was scared because I couldn't swim. So now as an adult and curating projects around the Boston Harbor, it's a great way to bring people together, and it's so inspiring.
And there's lots of art to be found on the harbor even without the artists in residence, cool as they are. You can go out to Spectacle Island on a Sunday afternoon and hear live music on the porch that's there at the visitor center.
Yep.
And then there's also musical performances incorporated into the summer nights on Spectacle, which are happening on Saturdays this year.
Yes, that's cool. And there are projects around the harbor that you can access without even getting on the boat. I mean, I don't even know about the Harbor Walk until I started working with Boston Harbor Now.
Yeah. There's one particular place on the Harbor Walk that's really well known for art, the Institute for Contemporary Art, or the ICA.
Yes, and it's the first building built in the seaport.
Yep, just Moakley Courthouse was there when it went up. They started with their collection inside, and then they started activating the Harbor Walk with music and arts outside. And then this fall is the first time they're going to bring an installation from inside the museum out onto the Harbor Walk. And then last summer, they opened the Watershed space over in East Boston.
Yeah, that space is so cool. My husband is an ironworker who worked there at the shipyard for years. And it's so great that how they transformed the space and picked up the vibes of the community for East Boston.
Yeah, this summer's exhibition called Purple by Jana Kumfra is a 6-screen video installation that explores themes around climate change and water, and it's really amazing to see it in that space so close to the Harbor Walk, and then also in a way that's just really different from the way the media talks about these issues or even advocacy conversations.
That's right. That is the power of artists. We interpret what you might take for granted and around you right now.
And I'm really grateful for the way they do that.
And with that, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ola Akin.
I'm Alice Brown.
And you can follow me on Twitter, Alaska Boston.
Or at Fairy Fairy.
And if you like this video, please share with friends or subscribe to the YouTube channel.
You can throw us a like or leave a comment below. Tell us about an artist on the Harbor Walk or on the islands that inspired you or something that you produced.
And we hope you'll be inspired.